The joy of a championship is not promised. It is a pursuit.
Yeah.
A journey that is demanding and never direct. Every turn a new challenge. A series of peaks, valleys, rises, and falls. These 4 teams have hunted the same elusive goal for weeks. Tirelessly, relentlessly, without fear.
I won't back down. Nah, I'm coming for the crown.
They've got some juice.
Their quest has taken everything to get here. With the final goal just outside their reach. Which team will give even more to earn that joy?
Or never.
The Liberty Bell tolls for one more team. One spot left in Monday's championship game. Notre Dame has been on a season-long sojourn to Philadelphia, seeking that elusive first championship in program history. The Virginia Cavaliers on the doorstep of a dynasty. They've won 2 of the last 3 NCAA tournaments, looking to make it 3 out of 4 with 2 more wins. Not long ago, Duke advancing to the Monday championship, beating Penn State in overtime. A controversial ending, Garrett Ledman scoring the game winner in overtime. Replay showed that his foot was in the crease before he shot the ball. There is no replay to override that call, so the call on the field was the call that stood, and Duke will play on Championship Monday. And Schroff, Quint Kesnick, 3 ACC teams remain: Duke, Notre Dame, and Virginia. And for Notre Dame, this journey to Philadelphia, it started on Selection Sunday last May.
You remember that? This is a Duke team at the end of last year. They were on a hot streak. They won all sorts of games in a row.
Notre Dame,
they're watching the selection show, and they got snubbed. So they go back to work. They put up the bracket in their lockers, and they've reeled off an incredible season, a really strong season.
And the catalyst for Notre Dame, 2 brothers, last name Kavanaugh. It's Pat and it's Chris.
And Pat and Chris Kavanaugh, brothers from Long Island. They set the tone for this Notre Dame team with their production and their passion. They're going to chase you down and get ground balls. They're going to score goals with uncommon chemistry. Pat's a Tuaraton finalist. Chris has put on 25 pounds in his sophomore season. He's got a righty rip. They score gritty, they score greasy goals. And when they get things going, it becomes the energy for the entire Fighting Irish lacrosse team.
Kavanaugh comes into this game amongst the national leaders in points and assists. That's Pat. Chris is the team's leading goal scorer. Lars Tiffany has made Virginia now a fixture at championship weekend. Kark, we can throw the D word around if Virginia's the last team standing on Monday. Dynasty.
Yes, you can, Anish. They're in search for their 3rd national title in 4 years. And every dynasty, let's be honest, has a defining player. And that defining player for the Cavaliers is Connor Schellenberger, who is on track to become the school's first 4-time first-team All-American. He's the ultimate playmaker with an IQ to master the pick game with spatial awareness. And when defenders play him straight up, he can get to the rack. His strongest suit, though, is his ability to really survey the field and understand if it's dodge or if it's pass. And when it's pass, he does it as well as anyone. He's 2nd nationally in assists per game and has an incredible 6th sense to spot feed teammates like Xander Dixon.
He was unstoppable in the quarters against Georgetown. 6 goals, 4 assists, his 3rd 10-point game of the season. Kevin Corrigan, the head coach at Notre Dame. This is season 35. He has pretty much built this program from scratch, and this is his best team.
Notre Dame went from club to varsity in '81. Coach Corrigan took over in 1988. And he's been sniffing around this big prize for years. This team has no glaring weaknesses, maybe the face-off, but otherwise, from top to bottom, his strongest chance to get out of championship weekend with a gold trophy.
This is the 3rd meeting of the season between Notre Dame and Virginia.
On your neck!
Virginia's won the first two. Virginia is the only team to beat Notre Dame this season. Colin Hagstrom will take the opening faceoff for Notre Dame. The great Petey LaSala for Virginia.
Straight up and down. I'll tell you, relax. Go.
Officials today, Brian Luxinger, Tim Luxinger, and Douglas Donovan. And hopefully we do not have to say their names again. Will Donovan off the face-off wings, the All-American, only a freshman, and Notre Dame to work on offense. The star power concentrated in this game, Quint. Years from now, we may look back and say, wow, I can't believe he played in this game, and he played in this game. These are the two highest scoring offenses. They're led by two maestros. Kark told you about Schellenberger, Pat Cavanaugh for Notre Dame. And the Irish go to work first. Here's Eric Dobson, Notre Dame's top midfielder, with a right hand and a rocket by Dobson. He's a lefty. He goes to the right. 1-0 Irish.
He's a lefty, and they're daring him to go right. The Irish in the stands are dressed in green. Aiden Blue goes to the rack, gets to the middle of the field. Virginia is going to shade the junior from Florida and force him right. That's not a good idea.
A, it's a bad matchup. You've got to get your pole to Dobson. B, if you're going to cover him with a midfielder, somebody else has got to get on their horse and double team him. Make him a passer.
Hey, move down, move down. All right, guys, down.
Notre Dame wins the second face-off, 2 for 2 at the X. A good early sign for the Irish, and it's Colin Hagstrom taking both face-offs.
Third meeting, as you mentioned, Anish. Two very different games. The one at Klockner when the football team, Arlotta when the football team showed up, high scoring. The one at Klockner, low scoring and defensive.
In goal for Virginia, the sophomore Matthew Nunes. Struggled mid-season. He's been better toward the end of the season. And a shot by Pat Cavanaugh. A save by Nunes. We get a whistle in the crease and now a flag at the end of the play.
This should be a loose ball push. This should not be a flag. This should not be a flag. Rebound control so critical. We saw a rebound goal in game one. Chismar Matsui shoved Tevlin into the goal mouth. Not a time serving foul. It's a loose ball push.
Tevlin, the Yale transfer, a captain in his lone season with Notre Dame. Here's Chris Cavanaugh.
That look right there, Anish. Cavanaugh from the upper wing. That's different. They didn't show that last time these two teams played.
Bryce Walker now. Walker, Texas Ranger, the junior from Austin. 2-0 Irish.
Nunes didn't track this well. He just did not see this come out of the pocket. They get the switch. Out of the pocket, in the air. It's just not on it. You got to get down on this and see this in the pocket, off the lift, in the air. You see his hands never reacted.
And Quint, when we watch Matthew Nunes throughout the course of the season, when he gets hot early, he gets into a groove and feels it. But right now, at the face-off X, I talked to Petey LaSala yesterday. He told me Lynch is more of a traditional clamp guy. Hagstrom, who won the first two clamps, was the counter. And now Notre Dame kind of mixing it up with Lynch at the draw.
And excuse me, that's Jack Simmons with the goal. The Virginia transfer had 3 last week in the quarterfinal win against Johns Hopkins. Face-off violation on Notre Dame. Virginia ball. 3 face-off violations in one half, and the offended team goes man up. And this is what Virginia does with Petey LaSala. They keep him out on offense. He's able to dodge. We saw him dodge a pole last week in the win against Georgetown. First touch now for Connor Schellenberger. Marked by Chris Fake. Schellenberger. Chris feeds Xander Dixon. Denied by Liam Entenmann. Entenmann in goal was the winner of the Kelly Award, which goes to the nation's top goalie.
How about that for a start? Entenmann turning quickly on the feed. That's the lifeblood of this Virginia offense. They're a great passing team. They live and die on those crease cuts. And Dixon, who's usually money in the bank, robbed by Entenmann. Good start.
Notre Dame in round one smashed Utah, dropping 20 goals in that game. Took care of Hopkins in the quarterfinal. Dobson again. Both goals so far coming from the Notre Dame midfield. Dobson, two of the crease. Hits the side of the net. Nunes digs it out. For Virginia, a round one win against Richmond in a monsoon. And then in the sequel to Jurassic Park, as it's being called, they handled Georgetown in the quarters. 17-14 the final against the Hoyas. Four of the top six on offense for Virginia All-Americans. That's Griffin Schutz. And Entenmann makes the save.
He got a piece. The ball nearly trickled over the line, and then he smothers it in the dirt. So all of a sudden, this field taking a lot of wear and tear. You got dirt on the creases.
Virginia in its 10-man ride. That's the lacrosse equivalent of a full-court press. Both of these teams like to play fast. They thrive when it's chaos.
What I'm, Kark, and you can lend an ear here. Like, we watched practices yesterday. Virginia looked great. I thought Notre Dame had a really subpar practice. We're talking about practice, though, because they've shown up ready to play. Like, throw that out the window.
You don't talk about practice in Philly. You know that.
Here comes Pat Cavanaugh. Jake Taylor, the whirling dervish. Kark Taylor, the missing piece on attack. Playing so well off the two Cavanaugh brothers.
He is. He's been scoring a ton, but it's what he does spatially for the rest of the offense.
Tevlin, Nunes saw it all the way.
That was a nice stop. Punching across to that offside shoulder. Tevlin hitting the rocker step effectively.
Jeff Connor, 4 and white, hauls in the mangonel from Cade Sawstead. Connor has won 2 championships at Virginia. Talking to him yesterday, he said it feels like just a moon ago when Virginia got here in 2019. They were the Cardiac Cavaliers, the underdog. Different story now, 2 titles later. Peyton Cormier, he can absorb contact. Skip pass. Shot by Peter Garno, deflected. Comes to Schellenberger behind the cage. His feed is knocked down. Carter Paulette pushing transition for the Irish.
Virginia getting looks.
Entenmann off to a good start. 3 saves. Pat Cavanaugh against Cade Sawstead. A first-team All-American. Cavanaugh, shockingly, was a second-team All-American. I don't know how.
These are matchups that so far this season have favored Virginia. The length of Kastner, 6'7", he's number 39. The length of Sawstead, 6'5", he's number 11 in white.
This is Quinn McCann, two-way midi. And he throws it away.
The more I watch these two play, Anish and Paul, the more I thought Notre Dame's going to have to score in non-6-on-6 ways to win this game. That's off of faceoffs, using the ride, and scoring in transition.
Or changing the way that they dodge against those 2 big condors, because Pat Cavanaugh and Chris Cavanaugh are quicker guys, but they don't use a ton of the field when they dodge. They like contact. They dodge in tight quarters. They're going to have to long dodge, meaning beat these guys in space and start their dodge 15 yards away from the cage rather than at the 5-and-5 areas.
Liam Entenmann in cage, first-team All-American ACC Defensive Player of the Year, ACC Goalie of the Year. He started more than 40 games in his career. Simply put, one of the best, if not the best in the country.
And Notre Dame plays a team defense that's conducive to having strong goaltender stats. I'll tell you one thing about Liam. He told me yesterday, this is the type of game that you dream of playing in. Where else would you rather be? You put a lifetime of work into this moment right now.
Xander Dixon. He has set Virginia's single-season goals record. First Cavalier with 60 in a season. This is Patrick McIntosh. Bounce shot, score. Kark, we're not expecting too many bouncers on the surface.
We're not. But they haven't been able to solve Entenmann in the early stages of this first quarter. He's been all out, everything. Low, high, but almost like a little bit of a change of pace. A change-up shot. McIntosh scored 6 goals in the regular season against Johns Hopkins. He gets the Cavs on the board.
Co-champs now will sit and wait to see if they can make it into the NCAA tournament. Ohio State out of the Big Ten.
Isn't the goal to get the best teams to play in the NCAA tournament? I think it's their most dangerous team in franchise history, and yet they don't get in this tournament.
Pat Kavanaugh beyond the back.
This team is together, and they are nasty.
Sound the bagpipes. Notre Dame going to championship weekend in the city of brotherly love.
ACC co-champs now will sit and wait to see if they can make it into the NCAA tournament. Ohio State out of the Big Ten.
Isn't the goal to get the best teams to play in the NCAA tournament? I think it's their most dangerous team in franchise history, and yet they don't get in this tournament.
Pat Kavanaugh beyond the back.
This team is together, and they are nasty.
Sound the bagpipes. Notre Dame going to championship weekend in the city of brotherly love. Philadelphia, the origins of the city's name, Filio to love, Adelphos, brother, hence the moniker, and led by the Kavanaugh brothers, Kevin Corrigan has a team capable of dogpiling on Memorial Day. It's been well documented in the lacrosse world, they didn't get in last year. They have gone scorched earth on teams this year. They've handed 9 opponents their worst loss of the season. 6 wins by double-digit goals. 10 of the 12 wins for Notre Dame by at least 5 goals. However, Virginia has been their Achilles heel. Cavaliers own the only 2 wins against Notre Dame this season. And Petey LaSalle maneuvering the sideline and brings it into the attack box for the Cavaliers. Thomas McConvey. Shot on the run. Score! Grayson Soliday, who tore his ACL in the quarterfinal last year, only to return for opening week this year.
This is what separates Petey. He's able to track ground balls, soak contact, and stay on. Notre Dame right now has to play 5-on-5 5 because of the concern of Petey LaSalle.
Virginia does a wonderful job, obviously winning faceoffs, and then in the sub portion. Okay, so Soliday is a defensive midi, but he stays on and sniffs it out. Petey stays on. Virginia's constantly attacking, whether it's in settled sets, off of faceoffs, on their clear. It's all gas, no brakes, and you see it on that transition goal, that delayed sub goal.
Virginia #1 in the nation in goals per game, more than 17.5. Notre Dame close behind at #3, almost 16 goals a game.
And for Soliday, sweet pay dirt. After coming back from a knee injury, he smashed the papaya at the end of practice yesterday. The traditional end of week ceremony they have.
Their Friday practice does not involve scouting or focusing on the opponent. It's about themselves. Fundamental Friday. On the empty net with the 10-man ride. Notre Dame has the backup. Pat Cavanaugh held to just 1 point last week. No goals, 1 assist. First time this season he was held below 3 points by Johns Hopkins. The Blue Jays basically said we're going to shut him off. They did. Notre Dame still won by 3. Now Simmons, who had a big game, he was a big invert option. Cavanaugh, there's the trail check by Kastner. 39 in white is a matchup problem for almost anybody.
His length is, he's 6'7" with a 6-foot pole, okay? He covers so much ground.
Chris Cavanaugh now. Saved by Nunes. Kastner could have walked on to the Virginia men's basketball team, but his class schedule conflicted with the team's practice schedule. He has designs on playing college basketball once he's done with lacrosse. Connor shot saved by Entenmann.
Entenmann's locked in, gentlemen. I'm on that side of the field, and how explosive he is. It's patience, it's calm, and then it's pop.
Nunes retreats into the goal. Here come the Irish down the alley. Ben Ramsey. Good-looking sophomore out of California, third-team All-American. Great transitional midi in the middle of the field. Cavanaugh looking to escape the clutches of Kastner. That's Pat Cavanaugh. Kastner, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year 2 seasons ago. Hauled in by McCann. Still time on the shot clock. Notre Dame scored the first 2. Virginia responded. Riley Gray now. He had a hat trick in round 1. Gets topside, shoots low. Nunes is there. His 200th save of the season and 4th of the game.
Nunes looks good now after letting in that soft second goal. Saw that all the way.
Kark, Notre Dame doesn't give you a 10-man ride, but sometimes it will feel like it when the Cavanaughs are hunting.
They are pit bulls. They take just as much pride redefending and going after defenders when they're trying to clear as they do scoring goals and getting teammates involved from an offensive perspective. When you talk to them, they actually have defensive moves when they're riding.
Schellenberger to Peter Garno. He's got a howitzer from the outside and some shake. Pass, little off target. Griffin Schutz, the big sophomore, retrieves. Schutz over to Xander Dixon, dubbed by former teammate John Fox a few years ago the Slim Reaper. Shot clock inside 10. Now Cormier. Double teamed. Comes to Schellenberger. Left-handed rocket. Shelly the Machine.
He's practiced that shot hundreds of times in the backyard with his dad, Scott. And earlier earlier this season, I spent a day in Charlottesville going over the mechanics. And technically, it's almost flawless. Connor Schellenberger is a right-handed player. It's the double team from Notre Dame, the loose ball, and the snipe by one and white. Sometimes you win the battle. Right there, the double team gets the ball on the carpet, and you lose the war. You see Entenmann right there's an effective double team. Ball squirts right to the weak side, where Virginia had a 3-on-2. Shelley had time to let this one rip, and you see Entenmann's overpowered from about 8 yards. That shot's only going 84 miles an hour, but when it's from me to you, Anish, it feels like it's going about 120. It's also the release, too. Look how quick it goes from the headspace area to out of his stick.
It's like Kesnick on 2 cups of coffee when we started this morning, Kark. Three unanswered by Virginia. Interesting, Quint, as good as these teams are offensively, the last meeting between the two was really a defensive game decided by the Virginia defensive midfield.
A lot of goals in transition, off of restarts, off of changes of possession. Both teams not very effective in settled sets.
Simmons on the roll back, looking for the cutter, Pat Cavanaugh. Now it comes back to Pat Cavanaugh. Feet in front, shot save, rebound, score! Jack Simmons, the former Cavalier, with his second. And we're tied at 3.
Simmons is on fire late in the season. He is the perpetual optimist. This guy walks around with a smile on his face. He is upbeat all the time. He's a 5th year now in a business program to get that 2nd degree. He just brings joy to the field. Yesterday during their stretching portion, I bumped into him. I was, Jack, why always in such a good mood? He smiled and chuckled. He's just got such a great personality to have around your team.
We spoke to him after Notre Dame's quarterfinal win against Johns Hopkins. He said he still roots for Virginia. He's got a lot of friends on the team, friends on the coaching staff. He scored 2 of the 3 for the Irish today against his old team. Will Lynch escapes with it for Notre Dame. So Notre Dame already giving Hagstrom and Lynch pretty much even turns against Petey LaSala.
You hope that pays off down the road. Hot day, a lot of emotion.
Notre Dame has won 4 of the 7 faceoffs.
Back right!
Kastner picking up Pat Cavanaugh. All 3 goals from Notre Dame have come from the midfield. Dobson, too high. Pat Cavanaugh bounces one, another save by Nunes. If Matthew Nunes is playing well, it almost becomes unfair if you're playing Virginia.
Look at this. This is great. That's big time right there. Bodies flying, guys scrapping, guys hustling. They get a reset.
There's the late check. Griffin Kaloji, 29 and white all over. His brother Kyle, a big part of 2 championship defenses for Virginia. Griffin transferring over from Richmond in the offseason. Final 45 seconds. Chris Cavanaugh now. The Cavanaughs without a point in this opening quarter. Notre Dame with a 15-9 shot advantage. Nunes has saved to 6. Now McCann will go against Connor. McCann inside. Missing just wide. It will stay with Notre Dame. Pat Cavanaugh, 5 seconds. Finding the cutting Taylor.
Backyard lacrosse, boys. That's where this game was developed. Irish Nation knows every time a Cavanaugh has the ball, something creative can happen. This is beautiful, Quinn.
Given the clock situation, as a defender here, you've just got to bear down, and that you know the Cavanaughs don't give up. They attack every second. It's a spot feed over the shoulder. Taylor's got brilliant hands. Jake Taylor, the senior from Denver, he's picked up the steam lately, had 3 goals last week against Hopkins. He had 5 against Utah. He's fought through an ACL injury, and he can make magic happen in like a closet. Great in tight spaces.
Taylor with his 9th goal of this NCAA tournament. 5 in round 1, 3 last week. 2 ties, 2 lead changes. Notre Dame jumped out 2-zip. Virginia responded with 3 straight. The Irish, the last 2 to close the opening quarter. Duke will await the winner of this game on Championship Monday. 4-3 Notre Dame after 1.
So we have this funky drill. We kind of just freestyle. We have 1 shooter and 1 passer. Passer just parks in the wing, and the finisher kind of practicing just getting it off as quickly as possible while also throwing in whatever you think of.
It's ridiculous. This is the freelance I talk about every week when you guys are playing and I'm calling the games. It's like your backyard. There's nothing planned here. He does not know where his next step is, right?
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Okay, yeah.
So we have this funky drill. We kind of just freestyle. We have 1 shooter and 1 passer. Passer just parks in the wing, and the finisher kind of practicing just getting it off as quickly as possible while also throwing in whatever you think of.
It's ridiculous. This is the freelance I talk about every week when you guys are playing and I'm calling the games. It's like your backyard. There's nothing planned here. He does not know where his next step is, right?
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
When you train this way, you prepare yourself for unpredictable moments from a creative perspective that give you these type of plays. And when I spent a day in South Bend with the 2 Cavanaughs, That's in their DNA, in the backyard, every single day. They practiced all those types of moves for moments like this.
Nobody in the history of college lacrosse at the D1 level has taken more face-offs than Petey LaSala. He wins the opening draw of quarter number 2. Face-offs even at 4 apiece. Possession advantage to Notre Dame. Shot advantage, big-time Notre Dame so far.
I think if you're Virginia offensive coordinator Sean Kerwin, you're looking at that. Okay, what are the matchups? What's Notre Dame giving us? What is their slide mentality from behind the net or up top? And then he usually dials up answers. This is a Virginia offense that make outstanding adjustments.
There's Petey LaSala. Thomas McConvey, named the top midfielder in college lacrosse this year, the Vermont transfer. McConvey to Schellenberger, good look. We're tied at 4. That's 2 now for Schellenberger.
You beat Notre Dame goalie Liam Entenmann 2 ways. You beat him with ball movement. You get him moving on his line. You get his head going from side to side. And then you beat him with feeds to the crease. Layups and dunks. This is a little bit of both.
And you beat him with versatile shooting, Quint. In the first quarter, from a high release standpoint, where did Connor Schellenberger shoot? High. From that same release spot, where does he shoot? Low. He gets Entenmann, the first team All-American goalie, thinking.
Hagstrom this time will battle with LaSala. Jose Boyer off the wing. Over to Tevlin, shoots low. Nunes vetoes. Terrific outlet up ahead.
Telegraphed that shot.
Schellenberger the skip. Notre Dame gets back.
10 in white. Dixon. Wow. They tricked the D there a little, didn't they, Nish?
Truett Sunderland, one of the top incoming freshmen. 3 in white. Being Laviano's old number, Laviano scored a number of clutch goals in his Virginia career, including a couple on championship weekend.
And had Hall of Fame celebrations for all of them.
There's Sunderland. He got top side. Entenmann the save. He was going at Hagstrom, the faceoff man.
Virginia's done a nice job. They keep LaSala on and play some offense. Hagstrom then's got to dig in, or Lynch, and play D, and it causes some confusion.
Pat Cavanaugh now. Cavanaugh with 74 points for his career. One more, and he'll tie big brother Matt for the most in one season at Notre Dame. Here's Pat Cavanaugh. Gets inside. Nunes, another save. Matthew Nunes, after giving up a couple of goals early, has played well. And now the ride by Notre Dame. 9 saves in the first half for Matthew Nunes.
And a great ground ball play by Cade Sawstead. Not to panic there.
I go back to 2019, that first Virginia championship under Lars Tiffany. Alex Rode, in some ways like Matthew Nunes, a question mark coming to championship weekend. He ends up being the most outstanding player.
Coach Lars Tiffany pointed out that every single Virginia championship correlates to really strong goalie play. Go back to Rodney Ruhlman,
Tillman Johnson,
Alex Rode, Kip Turner. It has been a constant.
Gittleman. Schellenberger picked up by Donovan. Garneau, his shot, not there. Entenmann got a piece. Shot clock resets. Schellenberger against Chris Fake, a 5-time All-American. Great skip to Cormier with the catch and finish.
You guys are talking about goaltenders, the likes of a Tillman Johnson, making those huge stops in critical moments. Well, the Houston native, the sophomore, Matthew Nunes, give this high-octane offense an opportunity to cash in, Quinn.
Look at the trust that Schellenberger has in Cormier. The scissors cut. Dixon goes near side. Cormier cuts the back post. That is the bread and butter of this offense. Nobody passes better, feeds better off the dodge than Schellenberger. He's got 2 options in there. That's a spot feed to space, and Cormier's got super glue in his pocket, man. Everything sticks.
100%. And when you watch Cormier, he does the back pipe cut with his left hand. You think, he's got no angle, but he rips a twister, and Xander Dixon does the same exact thing on the opposite side.
Cormier telling us yesterday, he prefers when there are bodies around him and when there's contact. He feels more at home versus catching a ball all alone. And Lars Tiffany wrote him a little bit as he was walking by during our conversation saying, yeah, you missed a couple last week when you were all alone.
I was bragging about him all broadcast, how he never drops a ball, and he dropped 2 in a row.
He did. Announcer Jinx.
Comes back to X and Dixon. Schellenberger shot canceled by Entenmann.
Really nice stop there. The way he turns, drives that top hand.
Boyer eluding the pursuit.
The second midfield for Notre Dame, in my eyes, has kind of come to life late in the year.
Here's Simmons, part of that unit. And oftentimes that's the unit that determines who's the last team standing on Monday. Simmons got topside on Connor, missed the cage. Ball dying near the sideline. It belongs to Virginia. The hustle by Mitchell Whalen. Here's the speedy Evan Zinn, transferred in from Johns Hopkins a couple of years ago. Zinn, Connor, young Noah Chismar, Saladay, all give you a 2-way threat in the midfield for Virginia.
Right now, this game been kind of played like in half field sets, mostly 6-on-6.
Here's Ricky Miezon, the former Stanford linebacker, former #1 overall recruit in lacrosse. When 50 touches it, there is an air of anticipation on the Virginia sideline and in the stands. Schellenberger, his pass for Cormier. Donovan had it. Off the ground, here comes Notre Dame. Now Tevlin. Tevlin feeding inside, and a turnover. He wanted Taylor. Only the second turnover of the game for the Irish. Tonight, Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. The Golden Knights of Las Vegas, the Dallas Stars, 8 Eastern tonight on ABC. You see a lot of hockey, lacrosse crossover. The Kavanaugh brothers and Liam Entenmann, in fact, played on the same hockey team growing up. McIntosh, he's got a goal. At 6 in a game against Johns Hopkins this year when Peyton Cormier was hurt.
Lefty.
Got to the left hand. Entenmann denies it. Donovan off the ground. 81 for Notre Dame. Only a freshman has a chance to be a special player in South Bend, Kark.
He does. It's his handle. He's an undersized defender, but boy, oh boy.
Ramsey denied by Nunes. And now Nunes catapults it ahead to Cormier. That's something Matthew Nunes does so well. He is such a great trigger man for this Virginia transition game.
He's also a weapon in their 10-man ride. He's an exceptional athlete for the position, having played normal midfield through 9th grade.
Anish, we were talking about Donovan, who has incredible stick skills and handle. He's gassed right now.
Dixon looking for the cutter.
A little early to be gassed, no?
No, he went up and down the full length of the field on a sprint and had to get caught back on defense, but subbing now.
Ramsey. Nobody picks him up. He'll fire and score! 7th of the season for Ramsey. Most of those goals coming down the stretch.
If Notre Dame's going to win this game today, they're going to have to score in non-traditional ways. Terrific ground ball play by Chris Conlon. Scoops it to himself. Virginia runs to the substitution box. Ben Ramsey doesn't. He sniffs this out. He's disrespected by the point man. And he beats Nunes stick side low.
Chris, Coach, Matt, thank you. First game went into overtime. Duke knocking off Penn State. Little controversy at the end. The studio crew will get you caught up on how that game finished. This one shaping up to be a good one, tied at 5 as we check in with Paul.
Well, defensively, Notre Dame is putting a lot of faith in number 7, Chris Fake, the 6-year grad transfer from Yale. He's guarding Connor Schellenberger, and I heard him in the huddle tell his defense, if Schellenberger has the ball at X behind the cage, lock off. That means they're worried more about him passing than dodging, and if you're Schellenberger, you can go to the rack and don't expect a quick slide.
Yeah, neither of those options sound great if you're a defense against a number 1. Chris Fake was a freshman and one of the top defenders in the country as a freshman for that Yale 2018 championship team.
Ivy League Rookie of the Year from that group. Brian Tevlin, his teammate, they both have Yale degrees. Now they're getting graduate degrees at Notre Dame, and they brought stability and leadership.
McConvey's shot blocked. They've brought championship pedigree to a team hunting its first title in program history. If Notre Dame were to win, they would face their bête noire in the month of May, Duke, a team that has knocked out Notre Dame in the NCAA tournament 5 times, starting with that 2010 national championship game. C.J. Costabile scored the game winner in overtime. 2014, Duke beat Notre Dame in the championship as well. And they knocked out Notre Dame 3 times in the quarterfinals, the latest in 2019.
Quick clears against Notre Dame are really important. The longer it goes on, the more the Kavanaughs can sink their teeth into you.
If Virginia is to get to Monday, Duke has hexed Virginia in a way almost unimaginable. Duke has won 22 of the last 24 against Virginia. In the regular season, it's been pure dominance, but Virginia did beat Duke in the national semifinal in 2019 en route to the Cavaliers championship.
Schellenberger here now in space. This is a little bit different look for Virginia.
This is McIntosh using the Schellenberger pick. Now Boyer picks up Schellenberger. Jose Boyer's brother Keith plays for Duke. Shot clock at 15. Shot and a score. 2 for McIntosh. Virginia back on top.
Sean Kerwin sees something here, Quint. Seen much more of McIntosh the last 2 weeks than, say, after he started for Peyton Cormier. And when Cormier came back from injury, McIntosh not a ton of time, but he is making the most of his opportunity today, getting underneath, sells it just subtly upfield, and the low-angle shooting ability of a player with a lot of box lacrosse background from California with a tight finish.
Palo Alto, the junior lefty, I mean, strong lefty. This is a young man who's willed his way up the depth chart, okay? Success wasn't immediate when he showed up in Charlottesville. Look at that twister at the end, the way he brings it in front and throws that past the ear of Entenmann.
Positional versatility is something McIntosh gives you as well. He can slide between attack and midfield. Notre Dame getting the wings involved, and Lynch off the deflection, able to come away with the faceoff. The Irish have held their own at the faceoff X so far.
You think about these weekends, Kark, when a great team plays a great team, the top 10 players usually cancel each other out, and it's usually some unsung hero over the course of the weekend that can emerge and push a team over the top.
I agree with you 100%, and it also helps when you have a player like Patrick McIntosh who tasted some playing time. And you know he wasn't going to stay in that starting role when Cormier came back, but I feel Sean Kerwin, the offensive coordinator, he picks a scab, meaning he just sees what the defense is giving him in the first quarter, and then he always adjusts. So he saw something in that McIntosh opportunity from a dodging perspective, and you're seeing these twister finishers for Virginia. They practice those shots all afternoon long when you watch them through practice.
Kerwin was the gentleman you saw in the orange hat on the left of your screen. The last 3 teams standing, this is no surprise. It's been a flat circle in the ACC this season. Duke has beaten Virginia twice. Virginia has 2 wins against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame in its only meeting knocked off Duke. Going back to last season, Notre Dame has had Duke's numbers.
And take a look at the drop line. Yeah. 36-2 against the rest of the nation. This was at Arlotta when the Notre Dame football team showed up in the third quarter and things got tight. and Virginia just pulled away. They fed the crease for 6 goals in that game. Xander Dixon was the hero. Schellenberger had a big game. Then at Klockner in Charlottesville, a game Cotter and I called. A little less of a settled game. It was more transitional, up and down and up and down. And Virginia scored on odd man rushes, on restarts, and Matt Nunes was the hero with 19 saves.
The starting attack in that first Virginia win. 10 goals, 8 assists, a sock trick for Xander Dixon. And then you mentioned it, that second game, it was 4-4 at halftime.
A lot of defensive midfield scoring for Virginia. I tell you, I got to give credit to both these schools. Their home games this year were lit. Arlotta out in South Bend, Indiana, was a weekly festival of lacrosse. They got huge crowds, enthusiastic crowds, and there's no place like Klockner or Charlottesville right now in this game. They're getting the most fans, the most exuberant fans, and when that band shows up and those folks start picnicking on the hill, man, look out. It's been a great scene at both these two schools.
What do they both have in common? Smaller venues. They have a berm right opposite the bench where students and fans can stand and enjoy a beautiful day. There's also no football lines on either field, so when you're watching it, whether it's live or on TV, it gives a crisper, better feel.
Notre Dame ball. Virginia has won the last 6 meetings against Notre Dame. Simmons does the dance with Saladay. Now Kavanaugh. Simmons inverting was effective against Johns Hopkins. That's when a midfielder goes behind the cage. Simmons hits the pipe. And Saladay wins the hustle to the sideline. Virginia ball. Xander Dixon, multiple goals in all but 1 game this season.
And he's running through the midfield with Sunderland, the freshman, down at attack right now.
There's Griffin Schutz, Amtrak's defender, beating Cormier. Great trail check to affect the shot. Sunderland digs it out. Sunderland, the number 2 recruit coming out of high school behind Syracuse's Joey Spallina. Here's McConvey against the Notre Dame captain Tevlin. McConvey with 2 assists today, now 69 straight games with a point. Schutz backing down. Entenmann there. 8 saves for Liam Entenmann. Boyer the other way. Pat Kavanaugh looking to shake Kate Sawstead. Help coming from Whalen. Rolls back to Boyer.
Coach Corrigan wanted a timeout.
And he uses his final timeout of the first half. Little upset he didn't get it sooner. Duke advancing to the championship game with an overtime win against Penn State earlier today. They'll get the winner of Virginia and Notre Dame. Our season coming to an end. In some ways, this championship weekend field with Virginia, Notre Dame, and Duke, you could kind of see that coming in mid-March in a lot of ways. And you had a sense 2 of those 3 teams would be the last 2 teams standing as they are. NCAA men's lacrosse coverage continues Monday. Championship game 1 Eastern on ESPN. For more information, visit ncaa.com. Pat Kavanaugh was walking off a little gingerly. Looked like he was maybe grabbing that right hamstring after the play. And there you see, takes a little rocker step.
That's not good. Not good at all.
He had some cramping issues late in the game last week against Johns Hopkins.
I was just in the huddle, and Pat Cavanaugh is visibly upset right now. Anish, you mentioned that hamstring, and he hobbled off into the huddle and just shaking his head. You got to wonder, a player like him who uses that first step and that quickness, that's what his game's all about, the explosiveness off of the first plant foot. If it's a hamstring or if it's a leg injury, you got to wonder how explosive he can be.
Huge development. Okay, here's why. He's got 41% of the team's assists. He's their, by a large margin, their best passer. And without him in the lineup, there's a lack of distributors.
Pat Cavanaugh has the 3 highest single-season assist totals in school history, and he's Notre Dame's all-time leader in assists as well. And he is not out on the field. Fulton Bayman checks in at attack, 2 in blue. Notre Dame down a goal. There's Dobson from the midfield. Gets to his left hand, and an absolute flamethrower.
Jacksonville, Florida. Grew up as a gigantic Tim Tebow fan. 6'5", 235, and when he gets running downhill, you better get out of the way.
And I love how he uses the shoulder in the contact, because if you're a left-handed sweeping midi, that's the scout on him. But the physical aspect of this dodge on Mitch Whalen, that size, that speed, and power, but the skill to kind of shake that off, and in one motion, it's the shake away from the defender and the rip.
Kark, about 8 years ago, there was a 6'4", 6'5" midi for Notre Dame who went ham championship weekend.
The Motor City Hitman, right? Sergio Perkovic.
He had, what, 5 goals in that overtime loss to Denver in the semifinals? Somewhere in the studio, Bill Tierney remembers exactly what the final tally was. Coach, you won the game. You won the next one, too.
He should have had an NIL deal for Time Room Bullseye.
We come up on a minute to play. 6-6. 5 ties, 3 lead changes. "50 seconds." Now Schellenberger. Marked by Fake. Here's Dixon. Dixon, the 11th overall pick in the PLL draft. Schellenberger from long range. Save. And Cormier was in the crease.
He hit Cormier, and then Cormier stepped in the crease.
Virginia in the 10-man ride.
They got to be careful. If they go 10-man and don't get ball pressure, a long shot is in play, Anish.
Especially late in the half. Notre Dame out of timeouts. Tevlin. Now Chris Cavanaugh. Shaded by Sawstead. There's help. Wow. Chris Cavanaugh still without a point in this first half, which comes to an end. And this game's a stalemate. 3rd meeting of the season between Virginia and Notre Dame. The last time they played, it was tied at halftime. Virginia won in the second half. Cavaliers, the only team to beat the Irish this season. We're tied at 6 as we check in with Kark.
Coach, we saw your leading scorer, Pat Cavanaugh, come off with what appeared to be a lower body injury. If Fulton Bayman goes the distance in the second half, what do we expect from him as a player?
Well, I don't have any idea. I don't have any idea who's going to play in the second half. You know as much as I do.
Defensively, where have you been at your best? Virginia averages 17 goals a game. You held them to 6.
We still gave up a couple of the cheap ones that we consider cheap ones on ground balls and stuff around the goal, but it's what they do well. We've got to take that away. We've done a good job on them now for about the last 4 halves. We've done a really good job on their 6-on-6. We got to be smarter in some of the unsettled and transition.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Kevin Corrigan looking to get to the championship game for the 3rd time. Lars Tiffany and Virginia, 2 wins away from their 3rd championship in the last 4 NCAA tournaments. Tied at 6 after 30 minutes. Who plays Duke? To Chris Connor in Bristol. Russ, the Kavanaugh's 0 for 7. 0 for 7. We are at least 30 minutes away from figuring out who plays Duke in Monday's national championship game. Kevin Corrigan and his star, Pat Cavanaugh, having a conversation moments ago. Cavanaugh had to come out of the game late in the first half. He was clutching his left hamstring. And Ishraff, Quint Kesnick, Paul Carcaterra will have an update on Pat Cavanaugh momentarily. 6-6 game, two of the best offenses in the country. Defense ruled in that first half.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with both goaltenders, Liam Entenmann and Matt Nunes. And the defenses are winning the individual matchups for the most part on the perimeter. This game's been a lot lower scoring, I think, than anyone would have imagined.
You mentioned Matt Nunes, the Virginia goalie, gave up a couple early and then really locked in.
10 stops. Virginia's done a good job of keeping Notre Dame out of the immediate interior, but Nunes is at his best when he's instinctive, and he kind of turns off his mind and using his great athletic ability. The Kavanaughs have had a struggling game. Pat Cavanaugh here appeared to injure his left hamstring. He and Chris right now combined 0 of 7, and so his status as their leading point scorer was 73 points. His assists represent 41% of Notre Dame's assists. So if he doesn't play or isn't 100%, huge story.
Kark, any update?
Yes, well, Pat Cavanaugh leads the country in assists, and he's their quarterback distributor, gets everyone involved. I'm told he is available. What his status is in terms of how long he can go, we'll see. The left hamstring is taped up. He wants to play. He wants to be out on the field with his brother. This is a family that's been involved with this program for 10 years, have been to championship weekend, and he's lived for this moment, so he's going to give it a go. And I also spoke to Lars Tiffany. He's not thrilled with his defense. He said his slide packages are off. They're letting the Notre Dame midfielders get to the rack without sliding. He said, our slide package right now is Matthew Nunes, who he thinks plays fantastic.
Cavanaugh is out there for Notre Dame to begin the third quarter. Petey LaSala, Will Lynch at the face-off X. And Virginia controls it at Saladay. He's hounded. This is what Notre Dame does. You can win a face-off, they get after you, and they win possession. So people will target Notre Dame's overall face-off numbers sometimes as we get a procedure call against the Irish for playing without equipment. But Kark, we see this a lot. People target Notre Dame's face-off numbers. It's not really a true measure of possessions.
No. Oftentimes they're under 50%, but they're always over 50% if you track the possessions off of face-offs because they find ways.
Ground balls in the first half. Big advantage for Notre Dame, +8. You rarely see Virginia in the minus in that category. Thomas McConvey spins it back to Schellenberger. He'll go at Chris Fake. Now Griffin Schutz. Drawing the slide. Donovan gets Schutz to the ground, trying to knock the stick out of his hand. Oh, now he knocks the ball out. Donovan, the freshman All-American. Schutz looking for help. Lost it. Taylor near the sideline.
How about that D by Donovan? Man, he's outweighed in that matchup in East by like 80 pounds.
175 against about 230.
Measure the heart. It's all that matters. 81 in blue has a lot of tape on his right ankle as well. He's been dehydrated. He's had a cold towel on his neck multiple times. He is going 110%.
He's been one of the stars of this Notre Dame defense in the first half. Here's Chris Cavanaugh. Now Dobson. He fires and scores. A hat trick for the lefty from Fleming Island, Florida.
The gold trophy for the Golden Domers. It'll come their way if they can play D. Well-timed double team, and then you keep your feet. Stay with it. Another double team, and then be relentless. Look at the effort of Donovan, number 81. Chris Fake follows it up. Notre Dame's always been that strong franchise on D.
Look at this move by Dobson, who's been on fire. He is shot ready right out of that roll. So the momentum when he goes right to left right here, he brings all that torque with him, and there is not a goalie on the planet that is stopping that when he gets that full momentum off the roll.
31st goal of the season for Eric Dobson. All 3 of his tallies unassisted. Lynch the face-off win for the Irish. They have neutralized Petey LaSala so far.
Why the stoppage there?
Due to an equipment issue, we're told. Was not a procedure call for playing without equipment. Now Chris Cavanaugh will initiate from X.
Or playing with equipment that doesn't match.
On the doorstep, Griffin Westland denied. Now Jake Taylor.
How'd he miss that, Anish? How did he miss that? He faked Nunes out so many times, he might have faked himself out. Notre Dame coming in averaging, what, 16 goals a game? Virginia averages 17.5 goals per game. So this is way under par offensively for both clubs.
And these are also 2 of the best shooting teams in the country.
Is this a kick save? This is ridiculous if it is. Watch this. Wow. Whoa, off the shoelaces and the post. You kidding me? Wow.
McConvey.
We're talking about the Virginia offense being held to 6 goals. Leading scoring team in the nation. I think Connor Schellenberger has to be a Dodger based on the way that they're playing. They're shutting off the adjacents when he has the ball. He has to get to the rack.
Working the 2-man game. Instead, Connor keeps it. Jeff Connor turned away by Entenmann. Race to the sideline, won by Dixon. And Virginia, it's closest to the ball when it goes out of bounds on a shot.
Paul, do you get the feeling that Notre Dame is baiting Virginia into scoring unassisted goals?
Yes.
Schellenberger to Dixon, the Slim Reaper. His 61st of the season, first of the game.
Matt Nunes, a sophomore from Houston. An exceptional athlete for the position, dealing with his own defender in his face and impacting his ability to use his hands and really see the ball, kicks it out with his right foot.
You can shut off the adjacents. You could have all the plans in the world and bait Virginia like we were discussing prior to this goal. But the windows, they don't have to be big when Schellenberger, the best passer out there, sees a cutting Xander Dixon. What he considers covered and another feeder considers covered are 2 totally different things.
He was covered. Napolitano, 30 in blue. He's got his stick on the gloves, in the numbers. I mean, he is right there. A, most teams don't throw that pass. And B, who can finish that?
Dixon, earlier this year, had a 6-goal game in South Bend. His 61 goals, a single-season Virginia record.
Notre Dame winning the ground ball war. That's big. That is big.
It was 2-0 Notre Dame, and then since Virginia tied it at 2, neither team has led by more than a goal.
A pillar of this Virginia program since forever, and I really mean forever, has been ground ball play.
Dobson looking for his 4th. They lead the country, or they're right up there every year in ground balls. It's a bit of a misconstrued stat. The raw numbers, total ground balls, it depends a lot on pace of play, but their plus minus is usually pretty high too. Crease feed, Cavanaugh looking for his first. That one hit the pipe. Evan Zinn Roomba's the ground ball. There's Peter Garno. That's Grayson Soliday.
Irish with no luck.
Both goalies have played well. Entenmann at 9 saves. Nunes at 11. When the pipe is your friend, you know that helps too. Schellenberger against Fake. Eyes up to McIntosh. Save Entenmann. He now has double-digit saves.
Goes down like a hockey goalie on that one. I'm not sure he saw it clean. There was a lot of traffic, a lot of interference.
Nick Harris has to get rid of it. It's picked off by Quentin Matsui, who dumps it back to Nunes. Kark.
You know, I'm watching Pat Cavanaugh, and one of his signature moves, or what drives him, is how he rides, and he sprints every single time opposing teams try to clear the ball. He can barely jog.
He has not been a factor on offense in this third quarter at all, and he just jogged to the sideline.
You put a shorty on him if he comes back on the field. Why cover him with a Kastner or Sawstead if he's not 100%? I'd rather bump one of those guys up to cover Dobson.
Kark, would you short him if he comes back in?
The only negative is you take yourself out of your base defense.
Schellenberger hits the crossbar, and it finds its way in.
I would never short stick him, Quinn.
I mean, the hops in this game, there's been 3 or 4 margin plays in the second half that have been incredibly favorable to Virginia. A kick save, a pipe, and now this? This is like some sick nightmare for Kevin Corrigan.
Wow. You see the strength and the explosiveness and the dual threat ability of Connor Schellenberger, who is a right-handed player.
The stick. It went off the stick of Marco Napolitano, number 30 in blue.
Completely unintentional. Entenmann's on it. It's just one of those goals. I used to love giving up goals like that in practice to get him out of the way. Oh, these just sting. Gosh.
Now you could see Liam Entenmann's reaction. Schellenberger, 3 goals, 2 assists today. He gets credit for that one. Connor Schellenberger, for his career, averages 6 points per game in the NCAA tournament. And you got to remember, that includes a quarterfinal game last year against Maryland where he did not score.
He's got a shot at the all-time record if he can keep playing in this tournament, Anish. 25 points. Eamon McEnany back in 77.
He's at 21 right now.
Timmy Goldstein had the same in 87. Ben Reeves in 18 and Grant Amon in 19. Grant Amon did that in 3 games.
Here is Simmons. He'll take Noah Chismar to X. Simmons 2 goals today, the former Cavalier. Simmons over to Chris Cavanaugh, now Tevlin. Matsui picks him up. Jalen Seymour, 26 in blue. A factor last week with 2 goals. Now Pat Cavanaugh.
He's got the shorty.
Yeah, he's having trouble moving, you can tell. Just not the same burst. Tries to dump it off. Kastner vacuums. Koloji to Schellenberger, directing traffic.
It's a tough call for Notre Dame here, Kark, because he can play crease attack, but you already have that role with Jake Taylor.
Exactly. You don't need him inside. You need him passing. He's the second best passer, actually statistically the best passer in America. Connor Schellenberger and Pat Cavanaugh, the top 2. But the issue guarding Schellenberger is midway through the year he was banged up, so everyone dared him to dodge. But we've seen him on the big stage. When teams play him as a dodger, he punches as a passer. When teams play him as a passer, he's got the answer in terms of dominating one-on-one matchups since his freshman year.
Dixon has Tevlin hung up. Dixon to Schutz. It comes to Boyer.
That was a hung situation. Virginia goes into their
near disaster
spaghetti formation.
Conlon digs it out, the Holy Cross transfer. Notre Dame has to get it across before the shot clock hits 60. They do. Here comes Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh beats his man, shoots low. Noon's the save. Boyer, the rebound. He didn't shoot it. He'll try to escape. His pass picked off. Saladay launches it up ahead. Unsettled for Virginia. Schellenberger against McCann. Trailers. Schellenberger to Saladay. Fake! The great defensive play.
Wow. Virginia had a 6-on-3. If they had just paused for a second, they had all sorts of trailers there, but they rushed it. That's where communication on the field is key. And let me tell you, when it's loud in a game like this, you can hardly hear the guy next to you.
Quint, in some ways, Notre Dame did get a dress rehearsal for this situation last week. Johns Hopkins basically took Pat Kavanaugh out of the game and said, we want the other guys to beat you. Now, the personnel for Virginia far different than Hopkins. Kastner thundering down the other way, looking to play it to the wing, and both teams now getting sloppy in transition for Virginia. Two blown opportunities on back-to-back possessions.
We learned two things about Notre Dame last week. They can win when the Kavanaughs don't have magical days, and they can win a 60-minute game, because other than a Maryland game that went into overtime, they didn't play any close games this year.
What's critical here moving forward is the maturation of Chris Kavanaugh. You're going to have to ask him to assume more of a quarterback role behind the cage, and he hasn't had to be that guy at X, the guy passing and distributing. Today, he will be putting those roles if they win this game. There's no question about it. 50 in blue needs the ball behind the cage more now.
Simmons drawing a pole, working on Kaloji, denying top side. Now here's Chris Kavanaugh. Kaloji picked him up momentarily. Virginia recovers. Seymour coming down the alley, runs out of room. Here's Pat Kavanaugh. Bad hamstring and all, he scores. And with that goal, he has tied his brother Matt Kavanaugh for the single season points record at Notre Dame. There was a flag down.
29/1 minute. 29 of the white slashes for 1. Media.
Small ego, big heart. Turnover costly for Virginia in transition.
You wait your whole life for this opportunity. Whether you have 2 legs or 1, the heart of a champion, Pat Kavanaugh understands this moment, and we're tied.
Plus 11. Points or season?
Season on the career list. Great time to be a lacrosse fan. NLL, PLL coming. Championship weekend. Pat Cavanaugh playing on one leg, tying his brother Matt for most points in a season in Notre Dame history. Cavanaugh with 75 points. Matt Cavanaugh also had 75 back in 2014. That 2014 season for the Irish ended on Memorial Day.
Matty Ice, the first family of Notre Dame lacrosse.
Quinn, when Chris Cavanaugh is done, they could own the Notre Dame record books the way the Powells do at Syracuse, where Mikey's the all-time leading scorer, and then Ryan and Casey are right there behind him.
Those records are gravy. Man, a win today and on Monday would mean the world to this program, still hunting their first NCAA championship.
Petey LaSala has had his work cut out for him today. One of the best face-off men of all time. And Notre Dame's done a nice job against him. It's been pretty much even at the X. Paul?
It's in the Virginia offensive huddle with Sean Kerwin, and he was surprised at how much of the low crease is available against the Notre Dame defense, Quinn. He said the high crease, they're playing really pressure. That's why you're seeing some of these low-angle cuts by Peyton Cormier and Xander Dixon. So look for some low crease action and then a heavy dose of one-on-one from Connor Schellenberger, who they're essentially daring to be a dodger more than a passer.
The last face-off win by Virginia was big. It was a 3-on-2 face-off. Notre Dame had the extra man, and Virginia was able to deny Notre Dame possession. You're denying the best man-up unit in the country a chance to score with a man up.
It was a gigantic face-off win, a man-down face-off win. So you don't have to face the 62% extra man unit of Notre Dame.
Only team in the country north of 60%. And now, back to a 6-on-6. Schellenberger marked by Fake. Feeding Cormier on the inside. Second effort is there. Peter Garneau. Usually we see Garneau from the perimeter. That time right on the crease. And Virginia retakes the lead. Back and forth we go.
Quinn, you see how they were going for the low crease initially?
Jamming it inside. And if you're Kevin Corrigan, who takes off his hat and runs his fingers through his hair, like, how many times is this going to happen in this game? These fluke bounces that Virginia's getting inside, whether it's a rebound or a misdirected pass, everything's coming up to the guys in white right there. It's a miss. It's a complete whiff by Cormier. Again, who never drops the ball. That one glances off his glove, and guess who? Cormier, Garneau's there. You talk about a free goal. That's just a classic example. And even Entenmann gets a piece of that. Looks like it grazes his shaft in between his hands.
In this half alone, we have seen Virginia's Matt Nunes make a save from the shoelaces of his foot. We've seen a Virginia goal score off the stick of Marco Napolitano, a Notre Dame defender. And then Cormier has a ball go off the stick. It ends up with Garneau, who's right there for the slam dunk.
I mean, how many fluke goals are you going to give up in one game, one big game?
This isn't the team that you want to have rebound opportunities with Cormier and Dixon, who have such soft hands around the crease area.
Dobson's been the guy for Notre Dame today as an isolation. 8 in blue, the big man from Jacksonville, Florida.
Dobson driving to the alley, denied by Nunes. Catapults it ahead. Evan Zinn, he's photon fast. Zinn skips it back to the middle, and Dixon now shuts.
Wow.
Amtrak's McCann missed the cage. Notre Dame and Conlon with the backup. A minute 45 to go in the third quarter. Notre Dame at one point led 2-0. That is the largest lead by any team. Duke won the first semifinal earlier today against Penn State. That went to overtime. They'll be talking about the ending all weekend. Here's Chris Kavanaugh against Cade Sawstead, first-team All-American. Now Jalen Seymour looking for Simmons. Kavanaugh has to hustle and get it. Kavanaugh, two-time Tewaaraton finalist. Now Simmons. Tevlin, one of the dual bagpipers. Pat Kavanaugh again. Bouncer stopped by Nunes. Beautiful outlet. Connor. Tevlin knocks it loose. Connor recovers. 34 seconds to go, third quarter. Virginia today has led, but they have never had a two-goal lead. 7 ties, 5 lead changes. And a turnover by Virginia, a dozen for them with 12 seconds to go.
Take a chance here. Be aggressive. Crash the net.
Tevlin feeding the crease. Taylor not this time. The third quarter comes to an end. The Duke Blue Devils await the winner in the championship Monday. Duke and Notre Dame have given us some classic championship games. Duke and Virginia have gave us some classic games on championship weekend. We got a quarter, maybe more, to decide this.
They have to score in transition.
Close throughout. A trip to the championship game is on the line. Virginia enters the fourth quarter leading 9-8. The Cavaliers have held the Kavanaugh brothers in check. 2 points, only 1 goal on 11 shots. Park?
Well, and if you look at the way Pat Cavanaugh is shooting, it's his left hamstring. And when you're a shooter, you transfer the weight from back to front. And if you watch him in that third quarter, he's taking mostly lefty shots. And the reason being it's a left hamstring injury. He doesn't want to put too much pressure on that left hamstring. If he was shooting right-handed, he would. So you see him favoring the hammy by shooting lefty.
Now, he is a natural lefty, which does bode well. Out of bounds. It belongs to Notre Dame. The Irish are winning the face-off battle today.
Winning the ground ball battle. But their settled offensive sets are kind of stagnant. Honestly, they have 2 assisted goals. They're not getting multiple pass looks. There's no ball reversal. It's all ISO and a shot.
And yet only down 1. Chris Cavanaugh against Sawstead. To brother Pat. Dobson's had the big game. This one hits the ground, is scooped up by Cole Kastner, the big 6'7" Colossus.
Better idea. Drew a double team, got the ball spinning. Poor execution. Can't drop a ball like that in a game like this.
You mentioned it earlier. Pat Cavanaugh accounts for more than 40% of the team's total assists. For Virginia, who needs to step up in this fourth quarter outside of Schellenberger? Xander Dixon has not been much of a factor. Neither has Cormier.
Dixon and Cormier are going to feed off of Shelley if Notre Dame gets in the sliding game. But the guys, if Notre Dame's going to be slow to double team, guys like Patrick McIntosh and Griffin Schutz potentially could score some isolation goals.
What about Thomas McConvey? He's the national midi of the year. He's been quiet. He needs to step up.
McConvey, a first-round pick in the PLL draft. 2 assists, no goals, 4 shots. Boyer looking for the takeaway. Gets it. McConvey turned it over.
Picked his pocket clean. Boyer's playing with great energy today.
Got that Yorktown juice.
He wants to play his brother on Monday.
Brother Keith, a long stick midi for Duke. Only 1 goal in the last 15 minutes plus for Notre Dame.
I'm sorry. So the other thing I was thinking you need to do with Cavanaugh, if he's not feeling great, start him on the crease and roll him off behind, off some dodges up top. Spin it through him where he's at X and a distributor.
Cavanaugh at X. Now to his brother Chris. Sawstead. Cavanaugh got underneath, just missed the cage. And a flag down. And now Chris Cavanaugh slow to get up.
That was on white 29. White 29, illegal body check, 1 minute.
It's Griffin Kaloji, and the best man-up unit in Division I will go to work, but we know Pat Cavanaugh's not at full strength, and Chris Cavanaugh took a spill on that last play. Clark, you've got the best look down on the field.
Yeah, when they go to the rack, they don't care about their body. I'll tell you one other thing, too. On the Notre Dame bench, these guys are gassed when they're coming off. Cold towels, the heat. It is hot down here, man. I put sunscreen on and I look like a tomato. These guys from South Bend are not used to this kind of sun.
He had blood dripping down his forehead.
The red badge of courage. There's Pat Cavanaugh. Second extra man opportunity for Notre Dame today, 0 for 1. Dobson recovers. Virginia packing it in a little, now pressing out, almost a hedge. Whistling wide, the backup by Griffin Westland. Left-hander from New Jersey. A couple of years ago, he was second on the team in points. Great shot of Chris Cavanaugh through the helmet. 6-on-6. Notre Dame won for its last 11 shooting.
Virginia hasn't sent the sixth guy on.
It should be 6-on-6, and Nunes bails him out.
Our clock wasn't synced with the real penalty time.
100 miles per hour on the last shot. Nunes today, 14 out of 22. He had 19 saves against Notre Dame the last time, a career high. He's really played well in all 3 games now against the Irish.
That's where this hot streak basically started, in South Bend, with that win at a time in the year. And I just thought he was overthinking it. He was kind of guessing to his offside. Clean that up.
Chris Kavanaugh on the sideline is covered in blood right now. After that last hit, his face has blood all over it. It's the left eyebrow, almost like an MMA fighter.
Schutz gives Virginia a 2-goal lead for the first time today.
He's a monster. As Kavanaugh gets the cut man looking at his forehead. Schutz has left some scraps on the table today, and not like Nitty's last night, because everything got gobbled up. But this is the first time he's kind of finished the play. And he is a monster because of his physicality at 6'3", 220, only a sophomore.
He was the #1 player coming out of high school last year. A punishing downhill dodger with a hard shot. Virginia up by 2 for the first time today. Both Kavanaugh brothers a bit wounded. Chris, a cut to the head. Pat Kavanaugh has been limping since the end of the first half.
Chris Kavanaugh just ran back on the field. It's actually his right eyebrow area. He was covered in so much blood, I thought it was his left originally. And Manny Merritt, the trainer, the longtime trainer here at Notre Dame, she fixed him up, taped him up. He's back on the field.
Simmons goes to work on Whalen. Now Griffin Westland. Pat Kavanaugh gets topside and scores. They had talked since last May about not just getting to championship weekend, but delivering that first national title to Notre Dame, and Kavanaugh won't be denied. A 3-point afternoon. He now holds the single-season scoring record at Notre Dame.
I think he's been playing possum. You know, you limp around for a while. Eventually the defender doesn't respect you. And boom, shot out of a cannon. Left-handed, gets topside.
You know, Nish, you called him a lefty before. He's actually a natural right-handed player, but he has such good ball skills with his left and his right. He's been favoring that left side. And when I was out in South Bend and spent a day with the Kavanaughs, every single locker had last year's bracket taped to the back of the locker. And it's a reminder, last year's snub was the fuel for this year's fire.
Pat Kavanaugh is a big New York Rangers fan, and he wears quite often a 1994 Stanley Cup hat. That was the year the Rangers won it all. And if you remember, there was this taunting refrain that Ranger fans heard that year, 1940.
1940.
A reminder of how long it had been. Well, Notre Dame, Kevin Corrigan, the Kavanaughs, every player, every fan that roots for the program is tired of the taunt. There is no 1940. There's a never. They've never won a national championship. This is a program that, while the Notre Dame brand is about as big as it gets in college sports, this lacrosse program had to grow and had to develop. They didn't always have the Big East or the ACC. They languished in the Great Western Lacrosse League for years. They were an outlier geographically. The consensus is, Quentin, we've said it, this is their best chance. Petey LaSala. Not so fast. 11-9 Virginia. Cavaliers eyeing an empire.
Talk about an outlier. That's what 23 in white is for Virginia. No player at his position at the face-off in the NCAA tournament had more goals this season than Petey LaSala. He operates from all over the offensive zone like a whirling dervish attackman.
You got a pair of Fogos going at it. That's like a Braveheart. That's like a mini Braveheart there, Kark.
I mean, it's unbelievable. He's got the low center of gravity. His upper body, he's jacked. He was a high school football running back star. Tough as nails, and he is just a match-up nightmare because what he does after he wins the face.
A yard sale. And it's Noah Chismar out of the Tempest. Noon sets up the clear. Both teams have cleared well. Only one failed clear by each side. 8.5 to go. A 2-goal lead for Virginia. Winner gets Duke on Monday. That game on ESPN, 1 o'clock Eastern, right here in Philadelphia, Lincoln Financial Field. Attendance today, 32,107. McIntosh gets the Schellenberger pick, and now Virginia gets the matchup. Schellenberger on the short stick, McCann. It's the two-man game they play so well. Schellenberger got top side. Big race. It'll stay with Virginia. Xander Dixon beat Entenmann. Entenmann retreats to the cage.
Gotta love it. Got to love it. Every play. Every single play matters.
McIntosh has 2 goals today.
Strong lefty.
Schellenberger setting the pick, no switch. McIntosh looking to feed it back. Here's McConvey. Donovan all over him. McConvey's got to get rid of it. In a sea of blue, it's Conlon. Up ahead to Fake. Now they got Schutz trapped on defense. Fake dumps it forward for Tevlin, who wisely gets it back to Taylor. And now both teams will try to get their personnel on.
Both defenses have been so stubborn in this game. Neither offense has been able to get any tic-tac-toe passing going.
A physical, pound of flesh kind of game. Dobson's got 3 goals. Driving pass in, whiffs. Flag down, penalty coming on Virginia. Free possession. Chris Kavanaugh without a point to brother Pat. Quick stick not there, and Notre Dame will send that extra man unit out there.
Dobson does a good job on this, drawing this call. He presses hard to the middle with authority.
Technical foul, 0 white. Hold, 30 seconds. 0 white, hold, 30 seconds.
Easy call?
Absolutely.
Evan Zinn in the sin bin.
Lethal unit. They use Jeffrey Ricciardelli as the hub man inside, 0 and blue. And when he gets involved, this unit can really hum. Snappy passing.
And you've got Dobson, Kark, with his 13 career man-up goals.
And if he sets his feet, he's going to let it rip on that radar gun at about 105.
I'll take the over.
Pat Cavanaugh over to Dobson. 10 seconds on the man-up. Westland probing. Back to Dobson. Dobson gets it from Pat Cavanaugh. Steps into it. It'll stay with Notre Dame. 1 second left on the man-up. Offline, Virginia has 6 back out there. Even strength. And a timeout by Lars Tiffany. Virginia with 1 timeout left. 5:24 to go in quarter number 4. The Cavaliers, less than 5.5 minutes from playing for a 3rd championship in the Lars Tiffany era. Virginia. So much for luck of the Irish, Quint. It's been Virginia getting the bounces in the second half. Nunes with the kick save off the pipe.
Double ricochet.
Watch what happens here.
Off the pipe, off the defender's stick. The unlucky Irish can't buy a break. Oh, Cormier misses it. So what? Garneau's there to follow it up. I mean, how many times in a low-scoring game is Kevin Corrigan going to be haunted by just fluky goals? I mean, hard to explain.
Paul?
I like how Notre Dame isn't completely flipping their offense, and Pat Cavanaugh will still operate from behind, because if you get a good midfield dodge from up top from someone like an Eric Dobson, and if you kick it to the winger behind and Pat Cavanaugh, he's still fully capable of making that right pass.
Dobson's got a short stick. Chris Cavanaugh. That might be a flag. Don't see one. Cavanaugh still looking for his first point. Body save Nunes.
Take Chris Cavanaugh working hard. Working really hard in that possession.
Notre Dame just 3 of 19 shooting in the second half.
Again, all week long, when you break down these two teams, you've got to score in transition against Virginia. They offer some transition opportunities because their middies often beeline to the substitution box. And their 6-on-6 defense with the monster 2 defenders down low is super tough.
Virginia trying to beat Notre Dame for a 3rd time this season.
Cavs going slow right here, Anish, right? They're in no rush, up 2.
Kark, you were telling us during the last break, fatigue a factor for both sides.
Yeah, these two-way middies, guys like Jeff Connor on Virginia, Quinn McCann and Brian Tevlin on Notre Dame. The amount of miles they log in a game could be up near 6 miles a game. And when you're in the heat and when you're emptying the tank with a season on the line, these guys are gassed with cramps and totally emptying the tank.
Rare unforced error by Schellenberger, and it's McCann.
Dislike that possession immensely. You took your foot off the gas. In the shot clock era, you got to keep playing.
Chris Kavanaugh. Right hand free, and Nunes there. Another save. He's up to 17. McConvey's been quiet.
Notre Dame's got to press out a bit here and play the ball aggressively. Force the action.
Here comes Schutz. Entenmann with the biggest save of the game. A 3-goal lead in this game would have been massive.
Why would you attack that early in a shot clock?
It's exactly what you want if you're Notre Dame, Kark. It's exactly what you want. The door is still wide open.
On timeout by Kevin Corrigan.
How about that stop by Liam Entenmann? First-team All-American. Grew up on Long Island. Got his start with the Massapequa Mud Dogs. A great rec program out on the south shore of Nassau County. And look at him, just matching up. He presents the wide stance, but I like the way he moves off the line. You see how that subtle shift to his left, maintains his balance, and even as he's going down, gets the stick up. Gets the stick up. That is a thing of beauty.
Entenmann continues the proud tradition of goalies at Notre Dame. John and Joey Kemp, Shane Doss, Scott Rogers. The winner of this game gets Duke in the championship Monday on ESPN. That's when our NCAA men's lacrosse coverage continues. It's the national championship game. For more information, visit ncaa.com. For Notre Dame, this weekend in a lot of ways set up like an exorcism. They had lost 6 in a row to Virginia. Virginia, the only team to beat Notre Dame this season. If Notre Dame is able to get through Virginia today, they face Duke. Now, they've had Duke's number of late, but in the NCAA tournament, starting with the 2010 championship, Duke has beaten Notre Dame 5 times. Now, if Virginia hangs on and wins and plays Duke, it sets up a showdown of the 2 teams that have won 6 of the last 13 national championships. But Kark, it has been so lopsided over almost 20 years. Duke has waxed Virginia. They've won 22 of 24 against Virginia in the John Danowski era. Virginia, however, did get Duke in that 2019 national semifinal.
It's crazy when you think about that, right? I mean, this is a team, since John Danowski took over, Virginia's won national titles, 2 of the last 3. The regular season hex is, it's nutty. Like, you can't even explain it to people. But look at what happened in 2019. And I think the quick turnaround, if Virginia can hold the quick turnaround, they're not marinating on a week of Duke. It's 2 days.
Kark, what do you expect to see from Notre Dame here?
Well, they want to get Eric Dobson the ball. They're going to put actually Chris Kavanaugh behind the cage, where Pat typically operates and goes after his defender from behind at X. But Dobson's the guy they want having the ball right here. They love the matchup, and they're short-sticking him.
I'm shocked that they put a short Evans in on Dobson. They're going to go early. That means they're sliding early.
Which makes you wonder, when does the slide come? Doorstep feed, Chris Kavanaugh, 11-10. Dobson read it just like you guys did, and Chris Kavanaugh with his first goal, his first point of this semifinal.
This starts with a abbreviated Virginia possession. Looking for a 3-goal lead. Entenmann says, no, not today. We're not done yet. We're not done yet.
You're short sticking this guy. And I will tell you, I'm shocked too. If you turn on the tape, in the area that he's improved the most in 2023 is as a passer. I've seen that through pass multiple times, and when you short him, you're demanding a slide.
Whatever that was, it was mass confusion by Virginia. It was almost as if they were playing a zone behind it, and we're going to try to maybe change the look, but that was just poor execution defensively.
Now it's Lynch and LaSala in the limelight. We'll get a hold on Virginia. Notre Dame ball. Lars Tiffany does not like it, and the Irish a chance to tie. It'll be Dobson. All 6'5" of them. Now Simmons, the quarterfinal hero.
Lefty wants his left. Capable passer.
Dumps it back. Dobson. Scores! Incredible individual effort by Dobson. He's got 4. The Irish tie it up.
This is unbelievable. Sergio Perkovic-esque, taking over your game when it's on the line. The will, the determination to get to the rack when everybody knows it's you against them. Dobson wins.
Play like a champion today.
We are tied for the 8th time this afternoon. Both semifinal games going down to the wire. Lynch and LaSala. A hold against Notre Dame. Since Petey LaSala stepped on campus, Virginia is 11-1 in the NCAA tournament. He's come up with big plays at the face-off dot down the stretch in so many crucial semifinal games. This time, LaSala not involved. Virginia has a timeout. Connor Schellenberger, 5 points this afternoon against Fake. Schellenberger wanted a flag. Peter Garneau. Dumps it behind it to Connor. Jeff Connor and Brian Tevlin. 2 veterans of championship weekend. Tevlin, the Yale transfer. Our Notre Dame captain. Connor. Feeding Cormier, missed the cage. Comes back behind. Feeding Frank, shot, score! McConvey gives Virginia the lead.
Tied up at 11. A hold call on the face-off. You make the call. LaSala scrapping. The players get tied up. Lynch. Flag for the hold. And you talk about another break. A pass that was meant for one player ends up in the other guy's stick. And the defense is on the carousel and confused. What is that, break 5 in this game for the Cavaliers?
It's been that kind of semifinal. And it ended up in the stick of Schellenberger. He gets his 3rd assist. McConvey, the midfielder of the year. His first goal. And now Notre Dame's got to figure out a way to solve Petey LaSala. They've done a good job of it all game. Lynch and LaSala. And it's Lynch. The Irish have a timeout. And they use it. 42.1 to go in regulation. Kevin Corrigan, after last week's win against Johns Hopkins, had described this season as a quest. The Golden Domers searching for this El Dorado. It's been elusive, that national championship. A tough road to get there this year, going through Virginia. The one team that matches up better than anybody against Notre Dame. And then you get Duke, who's going to be the more rested team on Monday, regardless of who wins. But they've got a chance, 42 seconds to go. Virginia, Quint, this is a Virginia team that's been in so many of these big spots during this tournament run these last 3-4 seasons.
Two coaching staffs that know each other well. Kark's in that huddle. We'll get an idea what Coach Corrigan's drawn up on that whiteboard, man. He's been diagramming plays for 40 years. There's never been one that's as important as right now. He's got to trust his instinct. He's got to look in his guy's eyes and get a feel for who wants the ball here. I think it's critical. If Dobson is the initiator, I think he'll draw a crowd of Virginia players. And I would put Pat Cavanaugh in the adjacent spot. Dobson draw the double, click it to Pat Cavanaugh, let him dissect.
Well, that's exactly why you keep Cavanaugh in his natural spot, because if Dobson draws, Cavanaugh can still make a pass, bum hamstring or not. But the reality is, Quint, you mentioned Kevin Corrigan in the dry erase board for decades. He has a play that regardless if Virginia goes man or zone, it's the same exact concept in terms of drawing and replacing. They want to give Dobson the ball, but they're expecting some more pressure. And if you're Virginia, you have to pressure 8. He's dominated this fourth quarter.
Notre Dame seeking its third trip to the championship game. Down a goal, 42 seconds to go. Virginia looking to get to Memorial Day for the third time in the last 4 NCAA tournaments. They won in 2019, no tournament in 2020, won again in 2021.
You see Dobson on that left wing. Eventually he will get high, so he'll get a full head of steam and momentum to dodge now the long pole Matsui.
This is Tevlin. Over to Taylor. Pulls off his defender and scores!
This is bonkers. This finish by Jake Taylor in this spot with this much pressure is absolute insanity. Tevlin draws. He's got 2 guys right there. Did you see the subtle move towards the high crease from Jake Taylor? It made it happen, and then it's Twister City.
That's even more than a twister. That's a double twister tornado backhanded shot. From the goaltender's view, see if you can follow the ball in the pocket. Nunes just hitches down low. The reaction can't be good. Can't be good. No, not going to be good.
Lynch and Lasala once more. Now the wings get in. It's Saladin. Popped into the air. Has some English on it. Donovan looking to scoop it out. It comes to Ramsey, the sophomore, the All-American. Notre Dame out of timeouts. Final seconds. Up ahead to fake. 7 seconds. Fake. Run back to the restraining line. 2 seconds. Simmons. Time runs out. We go to overtime for the second time today.
Is this great or what? There's nobody here sitting down. Everybody is on their feet.
On paper, this matchup had the makings of an all-timer. Pinball wizard Jake Taylor tying it late. Next goal wins. We go to OT. Renee Schroff, Quint Kesnick, Paul Carcaterra. Next goal wins. Next goal sends a team to Championship Monday. 9 ties, 5 lead changes. We check in with Kark.
Petey LaSalla has taken more face-offs than any player in NCAA history, but today he's been neutralized by a two-headed monster in Notre Dame. But make no mistake about it, he's standing waiting for the face-off right now. He's built for these moments. In overtime in his career, he's 6 for 7. And he has ice in his veins, and his competitive nature always shines in these type of moments.
LaSalla for his career has 38 goals, 8 of them coming in the NCAA tournament. In 2019, during Virginia's run to the first championship of the Lars Tiffany era, they beat Duke in the semifinals here in Philly in double overtime. Ian Laviano scored the game winner. Lynch and LaSalla once more. LaSalla had it for a moment, lost it. Ground ball. It comes to Lynch. Let's see if Notre Dame uses its timeout. Both teams get a timeout back. And Ramsey brings it into the attack box. That's what you have to do to call a timeout. Kevin Corrigan will try to draw up a play to get Notre Dame to the championship game.
LaSalla looks like he's got an angle on this. Watch his track. The dive. That is a playoff ground ball. That is the definition by Will Donovan of selling out for a ground ball in the playoffs. Watch him leave his feet. Kind of turn the corner on him to make sure he doesn't push him or trip him. And then Lynch does a wonderful job chasing it down.
Virginia had a 2-goal lead with about 2.5 minutes into change to play. A couple of quick ones by Kavanaugh and Dobson tied it at 11. The Cavaliers went ahead with 52 seconds on a McConvey goal before Taylor tied it with 32 seconds. Paul?
We've all been talking about the emergence of some of the second-line midfielders for Notre Dame over the course of the last 3-4 weeks. And Griffin Westland, who is a player, Anish, you mentioned, had a big season 2 years ago and had to fight to get playing time again. He's probably heading on the field right now, and they think they're going to give him a short stick and work a pick game with one of the Kavanaughs to hopefully have an exchange where one of them can get the short stick off of the initial Westland shorty.
Westland played attack for this group back in 2021. put up 31 points. You know, running on the second midfield, the biggest challenge is you don't get steady shifts. So it's hard to stay engaged. It's hard to stay in the flow. I'm not seeing Westland out there right now. I see both Kavanaughs. Taylor.
They switched Simmons and Westland, so look for Simmons. If Simmons has a short stick, he's going to have an exchange with whoever has the pole, whether it's Dobson or a Kavanaugh, to get that switch.
Tevlin, the party starter. Tevlin driving down, gets free, shoots, and scores! The captain sends Notre Dame to the championship game.
Coach, you're the master of the dry erase board. What did you draw up there?
Coach, listen, it's not about what I draw up. It's about what those guys do on the field. We had 3 different guys make 3 different plays in the last few possessions of the game. All credit to them.
Petey LaSallo from Virginia is one of the best face-off specialists the game has seen. How did you neutralize him today?
You know, again, 22 just bared down and made plays. Both of our face-off guys did a great job today. Even in the first half, we felt like we missed some first chance ground balls that could have made the numbers even more in our favor. But again, it's just those guys, they made plays.
I know you didn't want to talk about Pat Kavanaugh's leg, but I want to talk about the Kavanaugh's guts. One had one leg, one had a face that was split open. How would you describe their toughness?
Yeah, they don't quit. You'd have had to drag Pat Kavanaugh off the field. There's no way he wasn't going to be there for this.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Carl.
It'll be Notre Dame and Duke in the championship game on Monday. This is how it ended. Brian Tevlin, the Renaissance man.
He's got an angel, and he's got no fear. Nothing to lose. Got an extra 5th year. He's going to take another team to the national championship by showing uncommon courage.
Tevlin this season has worn every hat for this program. Offense, defense, short stick, long pole. He's played face-off wings. He's one of the 2 bagpipers that leads the team out. Named a captain after transferring from Yale, where he was a national champion as a freshman way back in 2018. Saved a life by donating bone marrow a few years back. Lost a brother to unspeakable tragedy years ago. He's been so selfless, and he gets his moment in the final moment of this semifinal for Notre Dame.
When he transferred in, he asked, how can I help? What's my role? Well, we're going to have you do everything. And at the most important moment of the season, Tevlin just shows uncommon maturity and poise.
Kark.
Chris, the guys upstairs are talking about Brian Tevlin and his overtime winning goal. And outside of the goal, the leadership that he's provided this team. What has it meant to you guys?
It's everything. That's a credit of his character right there, taking over in a big moment, keeping us calm in the huddle. A calm, cool, and collected, that's what he's all about. He's led us to this moment. He's a great leader.
What was going through your mind when Pat had the hamstring injury?
I mean, he's been battling injuries all year, so we've kind of been working with that. But in this situation, semifinal game, it's tough to see. But we went in the locker room, got him taped up, but he's a warrior. He's going to battle through that no matter what, so I'm proud of him.
Toughness requires a why. Why are the Kavanaughs so tough?
I mean, Pat showed it today. You never give up on anything you do. always work at it. Hard work beats everything. So just never give up is our motto.
Your brother Matt's at PLL training camp right now. What do you want to say to him?
I love you, Matt, and I love you, Brent. Good luck, boys. You'll do great things there. Love you, boys.
Enjoy this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The city of brotherly love, right?
When Tevlin announced his transfer after graduating from Yale, everyone said, you'll feel his impact in May with that championship pedigree. Wow. You talk about nailing that. You saw that today, both from him and Chris Fake. But I think this game changed with the Liam Entenmann save. It was Virginia who had a 2-goal lead, looking to extend that margin, and Entenmann made the point-blank save from about 2 feet, and that opened the door.
Today's player of the game brought to you by Capital One. It is Brian Tevlin who scored the game-winning goal at overtime. Notre Dame closing the game on a 4-1 spurt.
We saw Brian in practice yesterday go after a teammate pretty good. Something I don't think I've seen on championship weekend. He went after Eric Dobson a little in practice to talk louder, to play with more focus and urgency. Guess what happened today? Dobson had a career day. Tevlin scores the game-winning goal. Like you know he hoped it would go.
And now it does beg the question. This was a physical bruiser of a game. How much does Notre Dame have left on Monday? How much does Duke have left? They had to go to overtime against Penn State.
How much do you have left? Kark, how much you got left? We're going to bring it on Monday at 1 on ESPN. I promise you that.
Oh, yeah.
This Notre Dame team that had journeyed long, singing a song in search of El Dorado. Well, the city of gold, it's in sights. They're 60 minutes away from a national championship. They're going to have to go through Duke, the #1 seed, with Brennan O'Neill, one of the game's best players. We're set for Championship Monday. It's Notre Dame and Duke in the final, 1 Eastern, Monday on ESPN. We will see you then.